Welcome back. I am your host, Susanna May O'Hagan, and today we are talking about Final Destination 2. Final Destination 2 is a 2003 American supernatural horror film directed by David R. Ellis from a screenplay by Jay and Eric, based on a story by Jeffrey Reddick. Plot: 1 year later, after the explosion of Flight 180, college student Kimberly Carmen is heading to Daytona Beach, Florida for spring break with her friends Cheyenne, Donna, and Frankie. On the entrance ramp to US Route 23, she had a premonition of a deadly pileup caused by a log truck. Yes, this is the one that you're thinking of when you see that log truck and you're like, nope, this is Final Destination 2, not 1, but 2. Kimberly stalls her car and exits, preventing 8 people from entering Route 23. Lottery winner Evan Lewis, widow mother Nora, and her 15-year-old son Tim, businesswoman Kat Stoner Rory, pregnant Isabella, high school teacher Eugene, and state trooper Thomas. Burke. As Burke questioned Kimberly, the pileup occurs and a car Harry crashed into Kimberly's car, killing all of her friends. The survivors return to their respective homes where a fire escape ladder fatally impales Evan when he attempts to flee from a stovetop fire in his apartment. Aware of Death's presence, Kimberly seeks help from Claire Rivers, who hid from Death at a psychiatric ward after Alec was killed by a falling brick, making her the last survivor of Flight 180. Claire tells Kimberly that her survival provoked Death to kill them in the order they would have died at Route 23, but concludes that Death must be working backwards since Evan died first. Unlike in Kimberly's premonition, she also tells Kimberly to look for omens and save herself. Kimberly sees omens of Tim's death, but fails to save him from being crushed by a glass pan. Claire decides to leave the ward and introduces Kimberly and Burke to Metro Williams Bloodworth. Williams Bloodworth is a huge important character in this franchise. He was in this movie, the previous movie, who tells them that only new life can defeat death. Burke holds Isabella in custody under false charges in an attempt to protect her, believing that the birth of her baby would stop death. He gathers that other survivors in his apartment for safety, but when Nora leaves, a chain reaction causes the door of an elevator to decapitate her. Eugene attempts suicide with Burke's Eugene attempts problems, but is repeatedly misfired. Claire realizes that if it is not Eugene's turn to die, the survivors ride Kate's SUV after learning that Isabella was hospitalized to give birth. Along the way, the survivors reveal that the death of Flight 180 survivors saved them from fatal incidents before Route 23's pileup, creating loose ends that Death resolved by reversing its list. The SUV suddenly blows a tire and crashes into a farm owned by Gibson's family. Kat is pinned to her seat whilst the others escape. Rescue workers hospitalize Eugene, whilst one of them automatically causes Kate to be impaled by a PVC pipe, her death triggers a chain reaction that causes barbed wire to launch in Rory's direction, dismembering him. Kimberly, Clear, and Burke rushed to Isabella's ward after Kimberly had a vision of a doctor named Kujin allegedly and killing Isabella. However, they see that Isabella has safely given birth to her baby, causing Kimberly to remember that Isabella was never supposed to die at Route 23. Silently, an oxygen leaks from Eugene's ward exploded and kills him and Clear. Kimberly realizes that she must try to kill herself and be revived, thus creating a new life that defeats death. She drives an ambulance into a lake and is revived by Dr. Colgerlin. Later, Kimberly and Burke picnic with the Gibsons and Kimberly's father. The Gibsons tell the story of Brian, their son, being saved from a speeding news van by Rory. Kimberly and Burke realize the implication and witness a malfunctioning barbecue grill kill Brian. Jeffrey Reddick's original script from 2000's Final Destination was much darker. The Final Destination franchise is known for its elaborate, gory deaths. Characters are impaled, decapitated, crushed, run over, sliced up, riddled with nails, fallen in half, and so on. Often, though, the deaths are so cartoonish that they're not particularly disturbing. The franchise has more in common with Looney Tunes than Longlegs. The character in Jeffrey Reddick's original script suffer fates that weren't meant to horrify giggles. Since death had messed up the first time, it couldn't just kill the people, Reddick exclaimed. It's basically exploding their biggest fear and drove them to problems. Clear Baker was approached to direct Cliff Baker the first installment. In that oral history, Reddick revealed that the first film approached to helm 2000's Final Destination was none other than Baker. Baker turned them down. He had initially retired from directing features after clashing with studios over two previous films, Nightbreed and The Lord of Illusions. Life too short to deal with these, Baker told Entertainment Weekly in 2014, explaining his decision to step back from filmmaking. Instead, directing duties fell to James Wong, an X-Files writer and producer who had made his director debut in 1996 with the episode Mustang of a Cigarette Smoke Man. The studio was uncomfortable with the idea of an invisible threat rather than a photogenical killer. 20 facts about Final Destination 2. New Line very quickly greenlit a sequel after the success of Final Destination. The first film director, James Wong, was unavailable to return, however, because he was already working on his next project, The One, starring Jet Li. Devon was originally meant to reprise his role of Alex for the first film, but an alleged contract dispute led to him not returning. Thus, he died off-screen in between movies, as evidenced by a newspaper clipping. 3. Prior to directing Final Destination 2, David R. Ellis had primarily worked as a stunt coordinator, and his only other feature film prior was Homeward Bound 2, Lost in San Francisco. He would go on to direct Snakes on a Plane. I'm laughing because I know Snakes on a Plane. Asylum, as well as 2009's The Final Destinations. Prior to filming, AJ Cook dyed her natural blonde hair brunette in order to appear different enough from Ali Later, who was reprising her role of Clear. Keegan Connor Tracy was cast as Kat a mere 5 days before shooting began. Number 6, Michael Legends revealed that they received scuba training for the underwater car sequence and that because of it he felt quite comfortable being underwater. 7, the script was written by J.M. and Eric. The two of them agreed to write Final Destination 2 if they were given the freedom to direct another script of theirs, which would become The Butterfly Effect, released a year later. The iconic and infamous highway pileup scene was based on a real-life 125 car pileup that occurred on I-75 in Ringwood, Georgia on March 14th, 2002. Wow, that's terrifying. Initially, they tried to use real logs for the infamous highway crash sequence, but when they tested real ones, they didn't bounce well enough, so they operate to use CGI instead. Despite the CGI logs, not a single car in the scene was CGI. Everything was done via practical stunts. Nora's elevator death was based on a real-life incident that occurred in a hospital in Houston in 2002. Dr. H was accidentally decapitated by an elevator that malfunctioned. Terrifying, thanks for that. James Kurt had previously appeared in The Final Destination as an uncredited extra. Oh, Tim. The pigeon entering the dentist's office was based on a superstition that if a pigeon enters a building, someone in that building will die. Did not know that was a thing. During the crash scene, the bus full of students shouting "Pile" had the name Mount Abraham, the same school from the first movie. I thought it looked familiar. There's a lot of little things that you will notice if you watch the movie carefully that connects the first and second one. During the crash scene, the bus full, after playing such an important and forebounding role in the first film, Rocky Mountain High was featured again via instrumental version during the dentist office scene. 16. The stadium in which Clear checks her out and sanitarium, like asylum, checks herself into was the same location used to film the opening of Halloween Resurrection. We will talk more about Final Destination 3 eventually. I hope you all have a great and wonderful day. Bye for now.